What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Crypt podcast. I am your host, Tony. Today's episode is a follow-up episode that I am doing regarding my last episode. How many times can I say episode here? It's regarding the gentleman who was making burial arrangements for his son at a funeral home in San Jose, and he wanted his son's clothing back. So they gave him a bag back, which he thought contained his son's clothing, and it actually contained his son's brain. So that was a shocker. It was a screw up, and Nelly, let's get on with it. So after our last episode covering the San Jose funeral home lawsuit, the response was overwhelming. I got comments, messages, and emails came flowing in. Not just reactions, but real questions about trust, accountability, and what families should expect. Today's episode is dedicated entirely to you, your comments, your questions. As always, we're keeping this factual, respectful, and grounded. So let's get on with our first comment here. We got Maria L. from Fresno, California. She said, I had to pause this episode multiple times. I work in healthcare and still couldn't process how this could happen outside a hospital setting. You know what? That response came up a lot. Even people who work around death or medical settings weren't prepared for this scenario. What stands out is that this didn't happen during an autopsy. It happened after the family trusted the funeral home. Crazy. Got Derek P. from Phoenix, Arizona. The fact that the discovery happened in his own washing machine makes this so much worse. Yeah, Derek, that detail changes everything. Home is supposed to be a safe place. When trauma enters a space like that, it doesn't just disappear when the object is removed. Got Angela M. from San Jose, California, one of my locals here. I've used local funeral homes my entire life. This makes me question how much oversight actually exists. This is an important local perspective. Oversight exists on paper, but enforcement often happens after something goes wrong. Cases like this expose how reactive the system can be. Robert K. from Iowa. People keep saying mistakes happen, but some mistakes shouldn't be possible. Well, I'll tell you what, Robert, that sentence came up repeatedly. There's a difference between human error and systematic failure. This case raises the question, what safeguards failed before the bag was even handed over? I got Jasmine T. from Atlanta, Georgia. Why wouldn't the family automatically be told organs were removed? That seems like basic respect. Well, legally, from what I understand, consent rules vary by jurisdiction. But ethically, transparency should be standard. Even if removal is routine, families still deserve to know about that kind of thing, I feel. My opinion. We got Michael from Chicago. I didn't know brains were sometimes removed and not returned automatically. Well, I'll tell you what, Michael, many people don't. And that lack of awareness contributes to shock when something goes wrong. Education matters. Not after a tragedy, but before. We got Danielle from Portland, Oregon. Some people online are downplaying emotional distress like it's not a real injury. Well, courts increasingly recognize physical harm as, or psychological harm as legitimate, especially when trauma is unexpected and severe. You don't have to see a physical wound for damage to exist. And that's the truth, plain and simple truth. We got Thomas from Newark, New Jersey. No amount of money would fix this, but there still needs to be consequences. Well, I'll tell you what, Thomas, that's a balanced take. Civil lawsuits aren't about erasing pain, they're about accountability. They also force institutions to change practices. We got Carla from Reno, Nevada. Why is the funeral home still operating if these allegations are true? Well, Carla, allegations alone don't shut down businesses. Regulators usually wait for investigations or court outcomes. That delay can feel unsettling to the public, but that's just, from what I understand, how it goes. We got Sean from Tampa, Florida. This makes me wonder how things like this almost happen but don't get reported. Well, Sean, that's a question without an easy answer. Most errors never make headlines. What we see is usually the extreme end of a much larger spectrum in those cases. Got Helen G from Boise, Idaho. I buried my husband last year. This episode made me realize how blindly I trusted everyone involved. Well, Helen, I've heard that from many people privately. Trust isn't wrong, it's human, but the responsibility lies with the professionals to honor that trust. We got Lewis M. from El Paso, Texas. Oh, I lost Lewis M here. Let me go back down to the bottom and find him. Bear with me, guys. Okay, here we go. Lewis M said, I couldn't finish the episode in one sitting. It stayed with me. Lewis, that lingering effect is real. Some stories don't end when the audio stops. And that's why these conversations matter. All right, guys, I got some questions for you, my audience. Should funeral homes be required to document every item returned to families? Should there be third party audits? Would body cam style documentation protect families or violate dignity? Where should accountability begin? Staff, management, or regulators? Now, there's no single fix, but silence and assumption clearly aren't working. This case isn't just about one father or one funeral home. It's about systems we rarely question until they fail. Your comments prove that people care deeply about how the dead and the living are treated. And I'll continue following this case as it moves through the courts. If I get any other updates, I'll let you guys know on this. And one final audience question for you guys. After hearing all of this, what would restore your trust? All right, guys, let me know in the comment box below. About some of the questions I asked. Let me know what your responses are. Just let me know what your responses are in general. You guys are awesome. You are the best. Thank you to the ones who submitted their questions and their comments. Much appreciated. I love the interaction. I love the engagement. That's what this whole thing is about. It's about talking about stuff. It's about conversations that maybe we wouldn't normally have in certain social circles. So I'm glad you could join me on this ride today. Thank you all so much, guys, and I will be talking to you very, very shortly, either with an update or a new podcast topic. All right, guys. Peace